Welcome to part 2 of the Style Guide Driven Development Process. In this lesson, I'll talk about the abstraction phase. Once the designs are ready to be implemented, designers and developers can use the Style Guide to discuss how the new features should be broken down into separate components, which ones already exist, and which will need to be extended or created. This exercise has two purposes: understanding the designs and determining tasks and stories. Understanding the designs, because while design mock-ups or prototypes can provide a high level of detail as far as how the design should be implemented, there's always room for interpretation. Therefore, the designer-developer conversation, guided by a living style guide, serves as a way to close any gaps, ensuring more accuracy on the implementation. Since the design was created based on a living style guide, many of the UI elements and components that will be needed should already exist or have a reference in the living style guide. These references make the process very fast, since designers can point developers to the elements they intend to use and which ones will be brand new. Determining tasks and stories is the second goal. It's possible that at this point you have a clear idea of what needs to be done, so breaking the designs down into tasks and stories around the components that are needed for implementation and estimate what the story points or level of effort will be much simpler. What usually would be humongous stories with infinite points become smaller stories that can realistically be completed during a sprint. Here's a good example. You need to build a page, and in this page you have multiple UI elements such as a search bar, a list of items, the details of an item, a modal that shows up when you click on a certain button. Having to build all of these items as part of one single story would make that story pretty large, and hard to complete in a short amount of time, like a 2-week sprint. So instead, you can create stories for each of the items that need to be built as components, and then create stories for integrating those components into the application. In this example, the modal component already existed, so we only need to create a story for integrating it into your new page. Doing this allows you to prioritize which components are the most important and tackle those first, track the progress in more detail and see how the page is evolving, what is done, what is missing, and distribute the work among teams so you can assign each story to a different person. That wraps up the abstraction phase. Now you can continue to learn how the actual work gets done while the documentation is written with the implementation and documentation phase.